Oh my goodness, what kind comments. It kind of takes your breath away. I feel so blessed to get this award. It's quite amazing. In fact, I'd say it's really awesome. You know, it's an amazing award. So first, I want to thank all the people who made this possible. You know, I know there's a whole committee. Dave and Joan, I know, are on this. Jim Spaeth and Artie Bogren, Helen Katz, who I haven't seen, and Steve Millman. So thank you all for making this possible and for championing me for this award. I truly appreciate it. Also, thank you to Scott. He disappeared for a second. I can't see him. Oh, there you are, Scott. To Scott and Paul for really taking the ARF forward. I'm so proud that I'm winning this during this period of time. You guys are amazing. Love what's happening at the ARF. I need to thank John, my dear husband. Thank you for all the years of endless love and support. When I was really young and quite stupid, I married him after 3 months. I accepted his proposal after 3 months. I knew he was my equal, that he would be an amazing father and a wonderful husband. And 38 years later, we're still married, and I'm still head over heels in love with him. I'm in love with all of who you are. Thank you, John. And thank you so much for being my partner in this journey. Together we raised 2 amazing children who've gotten 2 amazing partners, and now we have an amazing set of grandchildren. It's just wonderful. They're both wonderful partners, and these people, they're kind, they're loving, they're gentle, they're smart, and I'm just so incredibly proud to be both their parent and grandparent. Thank you all for being my center and my rock and my biggest pride and joy. There have been so many people over the years who've supported me and recognized my talents and appreciated the quirkiness of who I am. Fred Brandt was one of the first. He was one of my first bosses and truly a mentor. He challenged me to be the best person I could be. He cared about and for me in so many ways. We still see each other several times a year. He couldn't be here, but thank you, Bill, for sharing his. Yes, I was the kid. I still am the kid, regularly to them. So thank you, Fred. And Fred's boss was Walter Reichel, who's here, who became my partner for over a decade. We both, Walter and I, saw the value of single source data and put a decade's worth of work into single source. But I think we are a little ahead of our time. It took NCS to actually take us into being able to turn single source into something that was profitable. I also want to thank Linda Dupree. We started working together at Arbitron. I was doing research to support their thought leadership, and then she ran Project Apollo and included me, and that was quite an amazing that she included me. That was just one of the high points in my career. She taught me so much about organizing, and she continued to cajole me into being a better mentor, a better consultant, and a better person. When she started at Nielsen, I asked her to be my mentor, and she's done that ever since. So thank you, Linda. Out of Project Apollo came Don Glockler from Procter & Gamble, who first suggested I put together a team to analyze Project Apollo. And that's where Media Trust came in. And wow, talk about the shoulders of giants to stand on. That was an amazing group, brilliant. We really struggled with how to use single source and make really valuable contributions, and I think we did a great job. Really wonderful. So I was listening to TED Radio Hour last week, and you know, I was catching up, and they talked about a study that Mike Robbins quotes from UC Berkeley, that employees that are recognized for their contributions are 23% more productive. However, when they're appreciated for who they are, that productivity rises another 20% to 43%. So people who are appreciated, not only recognized for their contribution, but appreciated for who they are even more productive. I guess I sort of have always known that. It was great to hear the research that supports that. I love the numbers part of it. But hearing the research reminded me of how blessed I've been, because I truly have been blessed. I've been blessed by incredible mentors and bosses and people to work with. Matt O'Grady is just leaving NCS after 3 years, but for the last 3 years, he's led us in just such a way. I know he truly appreciates me for all of who I am. David Kenny, our new CEO at Nielsen, was sharing at a global town hall last week, and he said he had 2 jobs. He's a CEO, and he's the Chief Diversity Officer. And he described diversity as it is to have every person be appreciated for who they really are, to be able to bring to work all of the person that they are. That's pretty exciting. Can you imagine how much more productivity that's going to create? I mean, just wonderful that that's a mission and a job. So having bosses and mentors do this for me has really been a cornerstone for who I am and what has made this award possible. I'd like to hope I'm sort of that way from my team. I have 3 of them here. 3 of the 4 leaders in my team are here. You know, there's Sam Kirshner and Drew and Linghan Wang. So thank you so much, all of you, and to the whole team, because this would not be possible without all of the brilliance that you bring to what we do. You're amazing collaborators. You're brilliant. You're smart. You're also, you know, let's see, innovative, creative, kind, generous, and gentle. What an amazing group of people. Thank you. It really would not be possible without such an amazing team. I couldn't have made it to NCS without Bill Molt. Thank you for those kind comments, Bill. He was a partner at Media Trust, so we worked together. However, when I decided to close my business and accept a job with a key competitor, he stepped in and convinced me to work for NCS and Nielsen. He also convinced Nielsen and NCS to hire me. Big job. He did it really quickly because I was going somewhere else. So all of this would not have been possible without that move. NCS has been an amazing place to work. The richest, highest quality data, I think, in the world exists in our servers, in our infrastructure. That's just an amazing set of capabilities that allow us to tap into the data and derive many of these findings. But it's also an incredible management team. I'm so proud to be a part of this amazing group of smartest people that I've ever worked with. But what NCS also has is amazing clients. And, you know, clients like Dave Poltrak. And Dave, you've supported my work from the beginning. From the moment I arrived at NCS, Dave was right there. You funded years of amazing work. You collaborated and ideated and led me to do such groundbreaking work. The genius of Dave is that his focus was always on the big picture. It wasn't on driving CBS. It was on driving advertising. First, to find out prove that advertising works, but not only prove, but improve. How can we do both? Improve how advertising works. So he understood that the money would flow, first to advertising and then naturally to CBS because it was the greatest, right? Just the way Dave led. The last person I really want to thank is Irwin. This award is a world coming full circle. Walter Reichel and I had worked so hard on Scan America and NPD Nielsen, 2 early single source data sets, and that what we had discovered was, quote, an exposure in close proximity to purchase exerts a powerful influence on sales. Walter called this recency. Erwin met with us for many lunches in small Italian restaurants in the village, and we shared ideas, and we, really shared the work. What Erwin was able to do was capture the essence and bring it to the industry in a way that really Walter and I couldn't. Erwin understood the importance of taking research and culling it to a simple idea, an understandable nugget that could be used across the industry. It was a really big lesson. I learned that I could do research that was groundbreaking, but it was worthless unless I could deliver it in a way that people would understand it. They needed to use it, they needed to hear it, they needed to hear about it, they needed to understand it, they needed to believe it. Research is only as good as how it's delivered and how it's used. It's a really pragmatic point of view. It's not just go do the research. You have to really move the industry forward. So thank you, Erwin. Demystification has never been easy for me. It was easy for him. It's not my forte. Almost anybody, nobody said, oh, she's the demystifier. That was not what I got called out for. But Erwin, you made me understand how critical it was to embrace this and work hard to try and achieve it. So thank you. So the last section, this is a Lifetime Achievement Award, but I don't really feel like I'm done. So I could take the rest of the time and talk about all the things I've done, but I decided not to. Dan Robbins quoted the other day to me, and I've borrowed it from him. Unsolved problems, that's one of the great signs of progress. We have lots of unsolved problems. That was a quote from Kenneth Arrow. So thanks, Dan. So I started with about 5 or 6 ideas about what I wanted to work on. But then I thought, let me ask our clients, ask my friends, ask researchers, what is it we should be working on? So here's some of the ideas. First, has to do with targeting. The world is getting more and more concerned about privacy, but targeting is getting more accurate and efficient. No one wants to see endless commercials for products that they're not interested in. Nobody does. So how do we reconcile these dichotomies? How do we do a good job when we don't want to be perfect, but we don't want to overburden, we don't want to hurt the privacy? To spin that even further, how do you do that across platforms and publishers and media to deliver the highest reach to just the right people? How do you do all that? I think that's something that NCS can absolutely embrace and work on. Soren Patiline from Mars posed this question: how can we measure cross-media ROI across all media, digital and TV, including walled gardens? How do we get ROI across the entire platform? And I'd expand it to multiple partners, multiple publishers, and all media. Walled gardens are an issue, but there's also an extreme reluctance to do cross-media ROI. But I think this is very doable in the short term. The only thing standing in the way is really politics. It's not, all these are solvable and really critically important. From my friends at the Advertising Research Council, I shared this, like, what would you ask? Jim Spaeth, Jim Donius, Jim Figura, to name a few, also Bill Harvey, Bob Schulman, we're all there. And the first question that came up was, what's a brand in a consumer-directed world? So think about subscriptions, Shave Club, the things where you automatically get a product. What happens to equity? It seems like equity, when you first order that item, is critical. But then, what matters with a brand? What's a brand? Who's the competition in that world? There's nothing like shelf space or distribution. Those things go away. It's a completely different model about how buying works. So what's the role of strategy and marketing? So really interesting meat there. if we remove brands, if we allow brands to just become commodities, there's no profit. And then there's no advertising, there's also no innovation. So if you see that tunnel and you say, okay, so how do we work in that world? And how do we change that, make that world something that we can actually work in? Great, great, great set of questions. One of the things on my list was creative. You know, NCS, we've really identified how to separate the effective targeting versus creative. But I don't know how to talk to creative directors. I don't know how to explain to them what works and what doesn't work. You know, I've got, you know, I can't look at a commercial and tell them, oh, it has this kind of feeling, or I don't know how to do that. I imagine that I could put together, you know, if there was a client who wanted to do this, go and take all the creative that really did well and put it in a reel. And the ones that did poorly, put that in the reel. Or the ones that drove brand purchasers, or the ones that drove loyalty, or the ones that drove acquisition, so that you could have different reels. But I don't really know, and I think that that's another, we have the measures, we just don't know how to institutionalize it or create it in a way that can actually go somewhere. So you put these together, consumers want to feel cared for, they want to feel listened to, they want to, and I've lost my spot. Yeah, okay. But in their attempts to use technologies to solve this, advertisers and many agencies and brands have focused too heavily on targeting and not enough on ensuring their messages work for their audience. This results in many consumers feeling like they're being tracked while being bombarded by meaningless messages. I think the future of effective targeting won't just focus on reaching the right audience, but on sharing the right message with them. So we need to do lots more work to move, to think about marketing budgets to advertising. This morning we heard from, Megan brought this home, it's David's original premise that promotion, if we could get more money into advertising, promotion, you know, has the vast share, that there's lots of money available being spent on promotion if we understood how to do advertising. And Megan, you brought this home yesterday, that there's a sense, and I think there's a central thesis to this. I think that one of the keys is to bring ROI measurement to a common high-quality standard that truly differentiates incrementality from something like last click or just straight attribution. Something that differentiates signal from measure, which is something we heard yesterday in our meetings. Dave suggested that we research research into how TV might evolve. How could we deliver more addressable ads to make it possible for smaller advertisers to actually advertise on television, expand the pool of brands, and maybe even move past the upfront? Because if you've got a whole year to be agile, you need to start thinking agility. So back to the where we are today. How do we balance the short term with the long term? How do we balance the results from mix models with the results from single source? How do we balance targeting with brand equity? They're all questions I hope to research, to find insights into, and try and do what Irwin did. Refine the message, cull it to its essence, and share it broadly enough to move our industry to doing better advertising. Thank you all.